You might recognize this from some of my previous videos, or if you're a music producer, you may even have one. This is a Lightpad Block made by Roli. Basically, it's a MIDI controller. If you don't know what a MIDI controller is, it's essentially an external device that can be used to send digital signal predominantly to music software to control certain parts of the interface, whether that be sending information about notes, or whether it's controlling something like volume on a mixer track. So there's a few things that make this particular one unique. One of them is the surface. It's something you can feel more than see, but it's got this touch-sensitive silicone surface, which means it can capture things such as sensitivity and a level of detail that some other hardware controllers can't do. You can see in the Roli software that you get with the unit, the size of this circle indicates the pressure that I'm placing on this pad at the moment, and what that can allow us to do, similar to some weighted keyboards, is play notes at different levels of velocity, as well as other things. The other unique aspect that you may have figured out already is that because this is an LED-based device, the configuration of the pad itself can be changed through a multitude of settings that come bundled with the Roli software that you get with the unit. Two simple examples are you can use it as a drum pad or a sample pad, or simply a volume mixer to control settings within your DAW. It does come with some bundle software which gives you full control over the unit, right down to the detail of the individual areas in the pads, depending on the setting that you're using at that time. So taking a look at the drum block right now, for example, we have access to a load of settings, including the grid size, going as low as 1 if all you want is a huge button. Just kind of fun to press. And maxing out on a 4x4 grid. What they do advertise is that if you want to, and if you've got the budget, you can buy multiple of these units and tag them together so that you could extend that grid size if you wanted to. There are other settings in here that control things such as bass notes, glide rates, pad colors, and so on. And you have a similar group of available settings for each type of configuration that's available on the device. So it has a lot of flexibility. You can very much tailor it to your needs. So what's the main use then? It's got a pretty big feature set, tons of control available to it. What are people really using these for? And that's a question that's often worth asking with gadgets and technology like this. What is the practical application? And is it going to add value to my setup? And am I going to be able to use it practically? If you go to the Roli Instagram page, they're doing a very good job of marketing the unit. Undoubtedly, it looks really cool, and the design of it is excellent. It's easy to use. I didn't mention, but probably noticed it is wireless, connects through Bluetooth, and it feels really nice. So in terms of the design and build quality, it gets a big thumbs up from me. But I do see a bit of a disconnect between the promotional materials and my personal experiences. Now, of course, everybody has different uses for music technology, and so I'm not representative of anybody other than myself. However, the promo videos, as you would expect if you take them with a grain of salt, which you should do not really represent situations that I think would be commonplace within live performances or recording or production environments. At the same time, for me, I do find this very useful as an external MIDI controller, particularly in my live sets. I use this as an effects controller. So my DAW of choice is FL Studio, and what I often do is use the fader block setting, which you can select in the Roli dashboard app, and then within FL Studio, I can connect each one of these faders to anything I like in the app. In FL Studio, this is really simple. I presume it's very similar in other DAWs as well. Depending on what I want to link the controller to, I simply right-click on the knob or the fader, link to controller, and as soon as I interact with this, which triggers sending a MIDI signal through to FL Studio, it knows to link that setting through to this particular part of my controller, and that allows me to extract mixer effects into this external unit. And that's really useful for me if I'm performing with other MIDI controllers and instruments. I can have this anywhere due to it being wireless, and control those key settings that are often used for transitioning from track to track. So portability is a big plus. I mentioned looks earlier, which do play a part in this type of equipment, and undoubtedly it looks good. So whilst I have found a solid use for it within my workflow, I would suggest taking the promotional materials with a grain of salt. Even though a lot of the posts that they do share, of course, are in themselves reposts from legitimate musicians, you have to ask yourself what that snippet represents in the wider picture. Because a lot of the time they can't really be applied to production of a fully fledged track. Live beat making, sure, but again there's a shelf life on the type of variation you can get within this unit alone. Now of course if you mix it with other pieces of equipment and you've got it integrated with your DAW, then there's a lot more that you can do. But it's difficult to get that across in a 30-second square video on Instagram. So by all means have a look at the feature set on the website. They do go into quite a lot of detail, and as I briefly mentioned but I won't go fully into, there is the bundle software that comes with it that has a lot of features, customization options, and sounds built in. There is also an iOS app which I haven't used, so I can't really comment on that. So what about the price? It's not cheap. So the retail price on the Roli UK website is $199.95. It's also listed on their American store at $199.95, which is a bit strange. It means if you're in the USA, you're going to get a better deal than me. I'm not sure why that's the case. It's quite expensive for a MIDI controller of this size. Having said that, as we've seen, there are a lot of features in there. The design and build quality are very good, and it does stand out from all the other units on the market for the reasons that we've been through. In terms of whether it's of enough value to justify that price, of course it totally depends on your budget and also what your use case is. For a lot of people, bedroom producers, home musicians who are just playing around, possibly it's not worth it. There are other things you could spend that same amount of money on, which would add probably a lot more value to what you're doing. A MIDI keyboard, for example, you can get for a lot less than that, especially if you're just starting out making music. If you do have a bigger budget and money's not so much of a concern from you, I'd say yeah, go for it, especially if you're working with a DAW and you do have things that you want to control externally. This is a great option. As I said, it's compact, it's wireless, it's very easy to fit physically within your existing workspace. So I got mine as part of the Roli Songmaker Kit. They were on sale last year, and that came with the keyboard block, which is this MIDI keyboard. It's a similar design in the sense of its application of silicone, so it has high sensitivity. There are additional features in this hardware that you won't get in a regular MIDI keyboard, and that's thanks to the silicone design that they've gone for. I'll go into that in another video. Inside that kit was also this loop block. I still don't know what that does. Maybe I'm an idiot. Probably a little bit, but still, I've been using the Lightpad block and the keyboard block keyboard. I pressed everything on this, nothing happens. I've even looked through the dashboard software. I don't know what's going on. Yes, I have Googled. Maybe I'm missing something fundamental. Maybe I'm just a bit simple. Who knows? But if anybody knows how to use this, please let me know. Having a look now, the Songmaker kits are sold out. The price has gone back up now in the UK to $599, so that's not cheap either. When they were on sale when I got mine, they were £399, so still not cheap, but considerably less than where the price point is currently. Interestingly, on the US store, the Songmaker's kit is more expensive, as you'd expect. The American price and the UK price are not the same, and that one's up at $649. So at the current full price RRP, it is expensive. Whether it's right for you, I can't answer. So that's the quick look at the Roli Lightpad block. If you're able to, it's probably worth heading to a music shop at some point to test out some of the kit. It's definitely worth having a go with and see if it's right for you. So as always, drop your questions in the comments, send me a DM, and thanks for watching.